In the astrology of December 29th, we start our energy today off with a very special energy with the sun in a waxing septile to Poseidon Scorpio. Poseidon gets very little attention, but it's remarkably similar to Neptune in its energy in Pisces right now. They're not the same. They do have some very key differences. Poseidon, its energy is very much focused around the path out of the shadow and into enlightenment. And there's also a lot in regards to Poseidon with the spiritual quest, which is, you'll notice, very similar as well to Jupiter, the original ruler of Pisces, and then, of course, Neptune, the ruler of Pisces. So there's similarities. With Poseidon and Scorpio itself, we are very much going through a long journey. I mean, this has been going, like, when I was born, Poseidon was at 29 Libra, and I'm currently 33. So Poseidon is just now past the middle of Scorpio, and so it's a very, very slow moving planet. This transit goes on and on and on. It's faster than Eris, for example, but it's still slower than Neptune. Its movements are slower than Pluto. I mean, it is slow as far as the way it transits. But what's so important about the Sun Poseidon aspects is they give us such a powerful part of our story in regards to our relationship here on Earth with a path and a quest from shadowy places, difficult childhoods, societal issues or conditioning that we experience, and our path to relieve ourselves from those things, to escape those things. But more importantly than escaping them is overcoming them, being able to walk towards the path that we actually want to walk. So think back to early November, specifically around November 8th, when the sun was in a conjunction with Poseidon. Take a moment to think about, at that particular time, and it was here in 2023, November 8th, what was going on in your life around that time, especially in regards to realizations, desires for the future, desires for your future relationship or the future of your current relationship, your desires as far as life path and career. What were the things that you wanted and desired at that point? Because now that we are entering the waxing septile where the sun is in Capricorn, it's forming the septile over to Poseidon Scorpio. This is a very powerful transit. And so basically for Scorpio, for example, you're going to receive an invitation today, the first of three invitations, of course, being the septile, biseptile, triseptile, in their waxing form. The three reflections are what comes after that as it's in its waning form. But we're getting the first invitation today. So for Scorpio, this is your invitation to be yourself, and to be yourself proudly and confidently, to allow yourself to shine when you're in a room full of people. And it is very inherent to the nature of your sign to maybe take a step back, be a little bit more behind the scenes, have, like people in particular that you really favor and you love being around and being close with them. But otherwise, you kind of want to be sort of more of a wallflower or more behind, just in the background in some way, shape, or form. This is your first invitation for some type of change in this dynamic. And it might not be on the level of your temperament, but maybe there's some type of way in which you want to express yourself a little bit more. You want to be a little bit more seen, just in more of a balanced way. Like maybe all you're trying to do is just balance the scales a little bit. For Libra, this is your invitation financially. So this septile is going to be basically, okay, do you really want to improve the quality of your life? Do you want to have the things that you say you want to have and have the journey that is going to be required of you in order to get that? If so, here's your invitation. Now remember, with these invitations, they're not always going to be like a letter from Hogwarts or something. Like these invitations can be a bit subtle or a little bit nebulous, but they'll tend to be pretty intense as far as their emotional impact. You'll meet a person or come across a website, or you'll be in a library and a book will fall off the shelf. Something will happen that quite clearly says, hey, here's a direction, anchor in this direction. For Virgo, this is, of course, the invitation of communication, the invitation of short-term ideals, short-term projects, new learning. There's going to be a lot about a direction or a path that calls you to start speaking out about what it is you're thinking. For Leo, this is happening in your 4th, and so this is going to be the invitation of family. This might be reconnecting with family members you haven't seen in a long time. This can be an invitation of basically a different type of family dynamic entirely. Usually the septile, especially the waxing original septile, it's very intense, and so this is whatever this invitation is going to be. It might be very subtle in its manifestation. It's going to be very groundbreaking as far as the effect it has in your life if you follow the fated septile, biseptile, and triseptile, though. So in regards to your family, something big is shifting. This might be like something as big as like changing the dynamic you have with your parents entirely. Maybe you have been no contact and now you're coming into contact, or maybe things have been totally inappropriate, or maybe they've been great, but there are certain members of your family that just have not been included, and now's the time to do that. You'll be able to see which is which. For Cancer, this is happening in your 5th. So this invitation is going to be the invitation essentially to express your art. And whether your art is with a paintbrush or with a poem, or whether it's with the creation of a movie, regardless of the exact form, you've got something that your heart wants to express, and it needs an artistic mode in order to do that. For Gemini, of course, this invitation is the invitation to improve your life, to improve it in the little ways, to improve your life in the ways that might not seem like they really add up. It's like one slight adjustment to your daily schedule, but these little things add up, and remarkably quickly. It never feels like it in the first month or so, but after that point, when you've got some inertia, it will show itself to you. For Taurus, this is happening in your 7th house. This is the invitation for relationships. So if you're already in one, this might be the invitation to deepen your connection in a very significant way. The deepening being, Poseidon, Scorpio, of course. And it's going to, though, if you're in a relationship and there has been a lack of depth for a long time, this is going to be a big deal. This is like a conversation that's been needed to have for a long time. This is going to be, if you're not in a relationship, this might be the invitation of someone who in every way, shape, or form you are attracted to, but takes you out of your comfort zone. It's going to be intense regardless of how exactly it happens. With Aries, this is happening, this is the invitation essentially to deepen your psychic connection. This is the invitation to possibly have like a spiritual encounter. Maybe this is like a mediumship thing, but you're going to get some type of spiritual invitation, and it's going to be really intense to experience, because often this will be literally experiential. You might, let's just say, for example, see a ghost, be drawn to use a divination method you've never done before, and it ends up being super impactful. Maybe you've used the tarot for a long time, but you just, take a crystal ball out and voila, you're focusing on the technique of scrying all of a sudden, and you're really good at it. Basically, whatever exact form it's going to take, it's going to be very intense spiritually. For, of course, Pisces, this is going to be an energy that is the invitation of faith, the invitation of belief, and the invitation to a literal quest. So Pisces, you're likely going to get asked, like, hey, this upcoming August or whatever, do you want to come on this trip? Do you want to go to this remote part of the world? Do you want to sign up for this university? It will be something that, whether it's literal or metaphorical, it's going to call you on a very intense quest of transformation, a very intense journey. And it's going to be something that is supposed to evolve you, or it's supposed to essentially grow you into the ultimate version of yourself you've always wanted to be, the Jupiterian self that is connected with the 9th house. And then, of course, what you've got is Aquarius. And for Aquarius, we've got this invitation happening in your 10th. This is a big invitation. This is essentially the invitation of, like, you meet John Example at the coffee shop. You've been on this meandering career path for quite some time. You feel like you're in a dead end. And then you meet John Example, and John happens to work in the field that you've always wanted to work in, and he happens to, have some very important position there. And, the two of you are just talking, and things naturally and very organically form themselves. And so you receive an invitation, essentially, come do the thing you've always wanted to do. So for Aquarius, this can be a tough one to accept, because for all the things that we focus on with Scorpio, Aquarius also can sometimes have a great difficulty with receiving the invitation, allowing themselves to take it. It puts themselves out there and it exposes them in a way that can be kind of hard. So that's going to be really intense. And of course, we have Capricorn. This is going to be the invitation of meeting new people, joining new social networks, connecting with people in a different way. Maybe connecting with a lot less people, but with a much greater intimacy. Maybe it's like a much deeper connection that you have. So you've had maybe 20 friends, you just moved somewhere, they're all, it's all fun and games. But there's 3 people in particular you really deepen your connection with. You go camping together, something that bonds you, and you become much closer. So there's a great deal of invitation there. And then, of course, we have Sagittarius. Sagittarius, this is the invitation of the 12th house. This is the invitation to finally put an end to what, even though it's not a literal curse, to put an end to what has essentially been a self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-fulfilling curse, a familial curse of lineage, like you've been taught in a certain way because your father was taught in that way and your grandfather was taught in that way, and you are doing something that breaks this curse. This is the invitation to break a curse that puts you into totally uncharted and unknown land. So very intense stuff with the sun in its septile to Poseidon. There's a lot of septile positions which are intense in their own ways, but this one in particular, with the sun in Poseidon, anytime that they have any activity of any kind, it is something that spiritually shifts you. It alters you and it changes you, or at the very least, it offers you the invitation to do so. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I hope that this has helped, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.